Hi, I'm Dana Smiles with the Cape Cod Institute, and I'm here with Don Meichenbaum, who's teaching his course, Constructive Narrative Psychotherapy, How to Integrate Narrative Therapy Procedures, this week at the Institute. Welcome.
My pleasure. It's really good to be back once again working with your group. I was here for the very first institute and then the seventh, and now it's the 39th, so I'm really pleased to reconnect. I'm here this week, given my work that I've been involved in, especially with regard to trauma. We're having a really good set of sessions, and I have focused mainly in the nature of the stories that people tell. There's a fascinating area here in question. In the aftermath of various traumatic events, victimizing experiences that people have, whether they're natural disasters or whether they're due to intentional human design, some kind of violence, combat, what have you, most people are impacted. But what you find is that in the aftermath, 75% of people go on to evidence resilience. It's actually a topic that I have addressed with soldiers and other populations. 25% of people get stuck. So the focus of the presentation is what distinguishes the 25% of people who not only get stuck but go on to have adjustment problems versus the 75%. And what could we as mental health workers do to learn from their lessons of the people who have the ability to bounce back. Now, that kind of resilience and post-trauma stress go hand in hand. I've been involved over the years in the development of cognitive behavioral therapies, and most importantly, the focus has now shifted in attending to the fact that each of us, you yourself, is not only a Homo sapien, but you're a Homo narrator, you're a storyteller. And the fact of the stories that you tell yourself, as well as me and other people, will determine whether you fall into the 25% group or the 75% group. In my presentations, one of the things I try to do is not only share the state of the art, but I really work very hard to have the folks become critical consumers. I actually run an institute in Miami called the Melissa Institute. On the Institute are a number of articles that supplement this presentation, one of which is how to spot hype in the field of psychotherapy. So this week we cover a whole variety of factors, especially coping skills and specific interventions. I bathe the presentation with a lot of videos and cases. It's really nice to be back and connected with your group. You guys run a really good ship, and here at the high school, it's very convenient, and it's really a great ambience of informality. People are able to take me and the group to particular cases, to specific techniques, and my goal is to not only share the state of the art and the specific techniques, but as I mentioned, to really influence their internal dialogue. For example, today I'm going to be talking about people who have prolonged and complicated grief. With trauma comes loss, and we have done that. Then one of the major ways people cope with trauma in North America is to use some form of spirituality. So we're going to talk about how to integrate spirituality and psychotherapy. And apropos of this topic, each of those are really storytellers that people tell themselves and others. And we're going to talk about ways that therapists can actually incorporate these kinds of procedures. The other kind of address, and this is one that I just do a whole 5-day thing, is on substance abuse. I just gave a keynote address on how to achieve lasting changes in opioid abusers, which is a major epidemic.
So you mentioned it a little bit, but I was wondering if you can talk more about what you like best about this type of learning and teaching environment.
Well, one of the things that first of all, it's really good to be able to have 5 days, because I break them into small groups. And at the end of, I give a large handout. And at the end of it, there's a to-do list. And we go through, if I'm successful in the course, how will they change? I'm really preoccupied with lasting changes. So in fact, there's examples of things I would like them to do or try. I have a kind of case conceptualization model. In fact, it's more than that. I tell people that I can reduce their entire professional career to one page, okay? And that this conceptualization model is something they could apply. So we actually have people actually try on these activities, or how can they describe what an expert therapists do. You know, what's really important is not the treatment, but the quality and nature of the therapeutic alliance, and how to get feedback on a regular basis, how to use deliberate practice in order to achieve various goals. So I find this much more attractive than just a one-day in and out kind of thing. And they all have my email address. People learn from each other, and one of the things that I do is have them break into small groups, and they have to identify one or two things that they say they're going to do, a commitment. And then I ask them to share their email address with someone else in that group. And then that other person is going to contact them in 2 months and say, you said you're going to do it, did you do it? So what happens is I was raised on guilt, okay? So I build guilt into my entire thing. You said at the workshop you were going to try that, right? You're going to use the art of questioning. You're going to use the art.
So, are there any highlights this week so far for you, either in or outside of the classroom?
You should know that I give all the attendees at all my workshops. I've been doing this for 30 years on the Cape, right? And I give them homework. And the homework assignment is for them to find something absolutely delightful to do on Cape Cod. And then I start off each morning session with them having to report in what is it they found. So, you know, I love Cape Cod. I have 4 kids and 7 grandkids. And if you're a grandparent and you want everyone to come to visit, you got to be in Cape Cod. So that's one of my personal highlights. The other highlight is I really like challenging and turning clinicians on. You know, I've been doing this for many years, and the response has been always quite favorable. The attendance is good, and so one of my highlights is really the response that I get from the audience. They're experienced clinicians. This is an advanced presentation, and we really focus in on why some therapists get 50% better results and 50% lower dropout rates than other therapists. And I want everybody who attends my workshop to walk away with those skills and attitudes.
So, what else about your work are you most excited right now?
So we just put together a toolkit that's online on how to reduce gun violence and how to make schools safe. So I guess one of the ways I cope with grief, like in the aftermath of the shooting at the high school at Newtown, is to try and transform my grief into social action. So we've put together a discussion kit on how to get people who have extreme views on guns, NRA versus gun control advocates, how do you get them to dialogue? Because it turns out that they agree on a lot of things. And so that's one thing. We've done a lot of work on what is called stress inoculation training that's been used in the military, that's been used with police and so forth. So I'm heavily involved in that kind of material as well. So, you know, that's kind of the stuff that keeps me off the beaches in Florida and other places.
Well, that all sounds so wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to come here with us this week, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me, and I hope to be back again.